What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 9 of Let's Build the U.S.S. Enterprise A to 2.0 tutorial, Season 1, Episode 9. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we've got about an 18-minute episode. We're going to be slightly shifting gears. We're going to be working on our main lower torpedo bay and also the neck. So without further ado, let's kick back, relax. We're going to dive right into this thing. You can see I'm going off the third block up with the half slabs. What I would recommend at this point is watch me a little bit before you start building, because I will admit I'm going to spin my tires just a little bit here to get going. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that's a good practice with everything that we're going to be doing here, to watch what I'm doing for a little bit before you start building out. And the reason for that is because sometimes, you know, we end up backtracking a little bit, making some changes. These changes are critical to the build and what we're doing, because you guys got to understand something. This isn't I don't have a set blueprint for these ships. I'm literally just winging it. And there's going to be a trial and error period. There's no way to get around that. And anybody that says that they can just build these things first time around perfectly without ever making a mistake, they're not giving you a fully honest tutorial series. And I don't want to do that, because I'm trying to teach you guys everything that I do. So these mistakes are critical to the development and our builds. But basically what we got going on here, I'm trying to build out our main torpedo launcher with a combination of half slabs and full blocks. Kind of what I have in my mind. I wanted something short and stubby like the concept art, but as I was analyzing what I have so far, I've been thinking, like, okay, maybe we can make this a little bit more elongated and sleek looking. Cool thing though is that now that we have our bottom part of the template in place with the half slabs, we did the full blocks in the middle, now we're doing half slabs on top. It's not very big, as you can see, and we're literally just going in with our cut. The torpedo opening is 3 wide, and then we have 2 blocks on the side. You can see how I did that. I'm just following my cut lines and my patterns. That's how I'm able to come up with that. That's not looking too bad though. It all comes down to deciding what type of blocks you want to use, and then once you have those blocks in place, thinking like, okay, what type of pattern can I use here? So we just literally did a U shape, and then we wireframed it, and then we made it 3D with the half slabs. So we're just going to do a gray block in front just to get our bearings there. That's not looking too bad. Now this line, we're going to bring this all the way up to that first cut line, which will be a transition point on the neck. I actually need to delete one off that side. There we go. And that'll give us like a nice indicator to kind of look at, to gauge things, to see how that torpedo launcher is going to look in the grand scheme of things. But all things considered, that's not looking too bad. Now, if you really wanted to, if you wanted to make this even more compact, you could switch out the middle blocks with half slabs. That's definitely an option. But I think the main reason why I opted against that is that I've noticed that when I build out my structures, that when you go with the half slabs like that and they're just kind of floating there, it's a little bit too thin for my taste. So that was the main reason why I decided not to do that. But those of you that want to do it, hey, I don't see anything wrong with it. I see I'm messing around here. I'm just trying to See if maybe bringing that down by a half a cut would make much of a difference, but I don't think it's going to. All right. So you see we're going off that first cut line and then we're stopping at the first cut line. Not doing anything super fancy there. Just trying to get an idea of how this is going to blend together. Now, those of you that watched the tour episode, you're going to notice that's a little bit different right now, the torpedo launcher. And that's because, again, we're going to have to spin our wheels just a little bit to get where we need to be. But basically, what we're going to end up with is that it's going to be really, really thin in the front, and then it'll get a little bit thicker on the sides as we get towards the back of the torpedo launcher. Um, yeah, see, I think here I was trying to go something a little bit thicker that would maybe blend in with the neck. But as you can see, the problem with what we're doing right now is that it's honestly it's doing the opposite of what we want. It's making this whole thing bigger. And I think for the purpose of the Enterprise A 2.0, you know, we're building this in the Kelvin timeline, so they're going to have that extra technology. So we want this to look a little bit more streamlined and sleek. Really good exercise to do while you're building these ships out is just think about or write down what you're wanting to achieve. And when you start to identify those things, it's going to make it a little bit easier on you to achieve what you're wanting to get out of these builds. So for me, I know that I'm going for a more futuristic look because we've talked about this in the past, you know, as far as you know, what changes that we want to make and uh, things of that nature. But we're looking pretty good here. Now, everything I have going on, a lot of this doesn't look too bad. But again, what's happening here is that it's just blowing up the overall size. And that was the point that I was trying to make before that we've talked about this before that there's not really well, there's a lot of people out there that think that you don't have to make any changes to Enterprise A, and that's fine, but you have to take into consideration here that we're trying to do a remake of the Enterprise A from the Kelvin timeline. So different universe, so they are gonna look a little bit different. But this isn't looking too bad. I think like some people might see this and be like, oh well, I kind of like the more beefier front. Hopefully you can see what I'm trying to get out of this so far. It's not looking as good as I want it to, but this is a direction that I could have gone in, having a much more beefier front torpedo launcher, but it was messing with the proportions of the ship. And that's another thing too, that when you're making these changes, you have to consider not only this specific change, but how it looks in the grand scheme of things. And this is how you get your proportions down, by cross-referencing your source material and checking the size proportions. Because what can end up happening, that if we make this torpedo launcher too big, it's going to make the ship look smaller. So one way to get around this, to make it look a little bit better, is to make the torpedo launcher look smaller, because that's going to make the ship look larger. It's all about force perspectives. If you want a good idea like about force perspectives, walk through a theme park like Disney, for example. That is a great example of force perspective. Most people won't even realize this, but their buildings are really their normal size from the ground, but as you get higher and higher, they actually get smaller and smaller. And you don't really notice it too much as you're walking through the parks. Same idea, but we're just applying it a little bit differently. We're keeping the scale all in the same. We're not making it parts of the ships smaller as we go upward, but we are making certain sections of the ship smaller to make it look larger. And that will be in the detail, not in the overall shape, with an exception maybe the torpedo launcher. Everything else is more or less going to be the correct size. Now, I've established at this point that I'm not feeling the super massive torpedo launcher. It's just not working. Those of you that decide that you like the beefier version, I say go for it. I did forewarn you guys before that this was going to be something that we were going to be making some adjustments to, but if I recall correctly, I'm pretty sure the next changes that we make after this is what we settle on. I don't think I spun my tires too much on the front torpedo launcher. Because I didn't cheat. I was going to say I cheated, but I really didn't, because before I even got into this build, I watched some videos on my old Enterprise A, just to get an idea of some things that I wanted to change and maybe make a little bit better. And one of the things I did like was how I did that torpedo launcher, but it didn't have that elongated look. So that was something that you're going to see exclusively on this version of the Enterprise A. I think, to be fair, what we had originally is probably pretty close of where we're ultimately going to land on here. With a combination of using half slabs and a row of full concrete block. Well, one row. Alright, that's looking pretty good. We're going to do the same thing on the other side here with the half slabs if we end up keeping that. Just remember to watch ahead a little bit before you start building this out. One thing we need to do, we need to get that torpedo launch point established. That's going to help us out a little bit too. Because what I'm trying to do right here is to do it in a half slab, so that this way, what we were talking about in the beginning of the episode, we're trying to use a half cut line instead of a full block for the torpedo, where the torpedo would launch out of. I did the same thing on my Galaxy class, that some details you have to make it look a little bit smaller. It'll help, because what that ultimately does is just going to make the ship look larger. You want to make sure bring that up to the cut line. Let's fill that in. Same deal here. And again, you know, this pattern, the cut lines like this is our bread and butter right here, you know. Now that's not looking too bad. That looks pretty good. Although it does look a little bit thick on the sides, maybe a little bit. I don't know. I think what's messing me up here is that it's not matching up. So basically what I'm going to try to do is bring this down a little bit so that this way my patterns match up, because it's off by one basically. Before I get too heavy into it, I just want to look at it from a distance, stop, analyze it, think about how that's looking. It doesn't look too bad. That's very, very sleek. We just got to get our line work in order in the front here. I'm going to have to make some changes to the bottom, I think. There we go. That's why I say it's so crucial to follow your cut lines, because it really, I can't stress it enough just how much it guides me along when I'm building these ships out. That looks pretty good. And now what I like about that even more is that, I don't know if you've noticed this, but we've brought the torpedo launcher a little bit closer down towards the lower hull. So now it's hugging it a little bit more. It's not floating up so high. Placement is crucial. Your sizing is crucial. I'm hoping that you guys can see what I'm seeing here and the difference in using larger sections as opposed to smaller sections, and how that can manipulate how large the ship looks ultimately. I think this looks so much better than what we had before, and it's very, very basic when you consider it. It really is. It's so basic. Now I do want to stress out what we're doing right here, and that you can see I'm filling this in with a couple of different color blocks. Just do this with the white concrete. You're going to do that going all the way up, because you're going to see I'm going to do half with this lighter or with this gray, and then I think I used a light gray concrete, but ultimately by the end of the episode we're going to get rid of that and switch that to the white. Because basically why I did that in the concept art that I made, the very front of the neck there, I had that like as a darker gray color. But again, this is one of the issues with Minecraft, is that you only have so many colors to work with, and the color palette that I use for the front of the neck, I didn't have a block in Minecraft that matched it close enough. So ultimately what I ended up doing is just basically deleting that detail from my concept art, so the front of the neck won't be gray or have that grayish blue like it does. It'll just be white. So I say it's a good and bad thing that Microsoft bought out Mojang, because they're so obsessed with their packs and everything. I wish that they would do there's so much more that they should be adding to this game that are just no-brainers, and I don't understand why they're not doing it. But that's okay. I get, it's, if I wanted something that was super, super easy, there's probably a bunch of other games I could be playing to do this in. So it's not a bad thing. It's good to have challenges, especially when you're looking to help take your mind off things. Building in Minecraft is so helpful with that. But we've shot through this 18-minute episode like it was nothing, so I think that's going to do it for us today. If you did enjoy this content, if you can help me out, hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. And new subscribers, don't forget to hit that notifications button so you always get notified of my new videos. If you do have any questions regarding today's episode, be sure to drop a comment below. I definitely love hearing from everybody. And yeah, I think that's going to be it for me. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode, and I hope everybody has a happy and safe week. And of course, what did you make in Minecraft today? Post your photos in the Discord.